This episode of the AI Inside Podcast is brought to you by Aria. Get started for free today at airia.com. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the AI Inside Podcast, the show where we take a look at the AI that is layered throughout the world of technology. I am one of your hosts, Jason Howell, joined from the other side of the U.S., Mr. Jeff Jarvis, in his office.
Back in my office. I got my back brace on and an ice pack in it, but that keeps me through the hour.
Well, yeah, you know, this show, anyways, I can't speak for any other show, but this show, about an hour. An hour, maybe a little bit more than that.
Very tolerable.
So,
yes.
Yeah, tolerable. Good to see you. We had an extra episode over the weekend. If you all didn't check it out, you definitely should, with Salima Amershi talking about agents negotiating with agents. And fascinating conversation. She works for Microsoft Research. And the Magentic Marketplace was the big topic.
Very timely after my first question to her was about kind of her emotional reaction to OpenClaw and all that's going on. So it's very timely to the agentic world. And as Jason's been saying, this is the year of agents. It's just obvious.
Feels that way.
We'll soon see war, but we'll get to that.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, unfortunately, we're going to get to that right off the top. And I will be completely honest, like stories like this, I realize my immediate knee-jerk reaction is to like hide from it because it makes me kind of squirmy and nervous. But so instead of hiding from the story, why don't we dive right in? And I actually kind of put together a little bit of a timeline just because like literally this happened, you know, like starting Thursday and every day it's been a development.
Yes.
In this story, and so I figured I'd just kind of piece it together a little bit. Feel free to interrupt me at any point, but I've got kind of like
I will.
Here. This is OpenAI, Anthropic, and the Department of Defense. I will not call it by the other name.
Like it ain't Twitter. It's still Twitter. It's not X. Yes.
Yes, exactly. Although every once in a while I slip up. I slipped up on GTNS last Thursday, and I was like, damn, why did I? It was like a Ron Burgundy moment. So we got a little bit of a timeline. If you've been living under a rock, maybe you haven't heard of this. I have.
Maybe you want to be under a rock so you're safe from nuclear war. Not a bad place to be, by the way.
Exactly. Yes, totally. So last Thursday, the Washington Post revealed that the Pentagon posed a hypothetical question to Dario Amodei from Anthropic about whether its Claude AI could be used to, I don't know, let's just say shoot down a nuclear missile if it was headed for the U.S. I'm just throwing out that hypothetical question there. Amodei's answer was reportedly something along the lines of, you know what, call us, we'd work it out. And I think Anthropic is saying that that's a patently false representation of their response. But defense officials nonetheless didn't like whatever answer Anthropic gave to them. And on Friday, U.S. President Trump ordered all federal agencies to stop using Anthropic products as a result.
And this was after, as I remember, tell me if I got the sequence right here, because sequencing this is important. Did he meet with Hegseth in that interim? He came
Trump
and met with
Amodei.
Yeah. I think he came and met with Hegseth in that process, and it was not a happy meeting. Thus, Trump then next said,
yes, I do like this whatsoever. And not only that, Hegseth himself, my understanding, denoted that Anthropic, or rather designated Anthropic, as a supply chain risk.
We don't know whether that's been officially done yet. I saw something from Anthropic. It was clearly a threat, and maybe more than a threat, but I don't know whether it's officially been done yet. And there's some considerable debate as to whether or not Hegseth has the authority to do that. To the extent that he's talking. So one guess was that if any university has a government contract, they can't use Anthropic. Apparently not. It's that it can't be used on government work. There's specific things, and Anthropic's going to sue, and so all this is up in the air. All this is crazy land.
Super crazy land. And by the way, like the supply chain risk designation Not the sort of thing that's normally just thrown around and applied
No.
to like a U.S. company, a U.S. tech company. This is a label that's often referred or reserved for foreign adversaries.
Right.
Maybe companies like, I don't know, Huawei is one company
Exactly.
that comes to mind that we've heard many times. So that's a little weird. Then you've got OpenAI, and OpenAI announced its own deal to replace Anthropic. Ahead of that, though, they had basically shared what was referred to as Anthropic's red line, or at least publicly shared this, like the night before. And then the very next day, Sam Altman is announcing a contract that they claim included similar guardrails as the ones that Anthropic was fighting for. So that was an interesting turn of events. It was like the night before, it's like, yes, we stand united. And then the next day it was, oh, wait a minute. Actually, we went ahead and carved a deal. So we're just going to go ahead and deal anyways. That was a little strange. Over the weekend, lots of pushback, lots of people not really liking very much that OpenAI was quick to sign this contract, whatever that contract may have said. OpenAI getting tons of pushback from users. In fact, during that time, Claude shot up to #1 free app on Apple's US App Store. ChatGPT saw a huge wave of 1-star reviews, 300% spike in uninstalls. So definitely some consumer pushback and response saying, we don't like this very much. We're going to go over here and support the company that actually drew a line in the sand and, was kind of not part of this versus just carving the deal the way they say OpenAI did. And then that put Sam Altman in a position of damage control, right? He was he sent a memo to his staff, said that, yes, my rush to sign looked a little opportunistic, looked sloppy. And I think those were his exact words, and announced a new renegotiations phase with the Pentagon to include Fourth Amendment protections, to include a ban on intentional domestic surveillance. If it's unintentional, hey, no big deal. But if it's intentional, there you go. We don't like it, none so much. And also called for the Pentagon to offer Anthropic similar terms. Altman has shared this post publicly on X, so everybody has access and can see that. And then ever since that has happened, 900 employees across Google and OpenAI signing an open letter of unification. They're unified. That's titled "We Will Not Be Divided." It basically says that the Pentagon is working to pit the AI companies against each other. And that letter says that's the goal. Well, let's, I guess, stop there because there's more.
This story is going to continue.
Yeah, yeah.
So here's a question for you, Jason. I think you're probably too young for this reference to mean anything. Do you know who Eddie Haskell was?
I mean, it's a name that rings a bell, but I don't know what
So
kind of bell.
Only for the few old people watching the show, because we have a young and vibrant audience, I know. A show called Leave It to Beaver.
Okay.
The neighbor boy, Eddie Haskell, was a two-faced, smarmy, lying creep who would always say, he'd brown nose, "Oh, Mrs. Cleaver, you look lovely today," and then turn around and smash. So if you go to line, let me see here, it is what it is at 22 in the rundown. I had, sorry, I should have warned you of this in advance.
No, I got it.
I had, I think it was Gemini, put together Sam meeting his alter ego in Eddie Haskell.
Nice.
And to me, Sam has just done himself huge damage in this. He's two-faced. He's a traitor to AI. He snuck in under Anthropic and grabbed the contract and did it in a way that lacked principle. And he's in a bit of a panic about it. Uh-huh. So you referenced his posts where he said, he talked about the principles and alignment and all that stuff. And then there was a story, I'm trying to see, the Wall Street Journal said that he admitted, I think you said this, that it was opportunistic, not united with the field. It was sloppy. But then he started talking about how to try so hard to do the right thing, he gets so absolutely personally crushed for it. And I know this is happening to all of you too, he said it to his employees. So I feel terrible for subjecting you to all this is really painful. I think this was an example of a complex but the right decision with extremely difficult brand consequences. Oh yeah, that's from the heart. Brand consequences. And very negative PR for us in the short term, Altman said. So he just didn't think and stepped on it. Meantime, he did a big deal with Rupert Murdoch and News Corp. A lot of people don't like them either. So on that part of the world, Altman's going to be the devil. I think he's going to replace Mark Zuckerberg in the spleens of the left.
Do you think that this is enough to kind of put him in that category immediately? Part of me just thinks that this is the sort of thing that, not to say that it isn't important at all, but I just feel like people have such short attention spans for this stuff nowadays.
It's a really right point.
And I think a lot of people are leaving OpenAI that are going to go back in a week or two because because they're uncomfortable with having to change the way they do things, and that ends up being more important than the ethics behind anything.
Yeah, the difference is, I think, that he did the deal with the devil Hegseth. Right. I think those who do not, and some people like Hegseth, some people like Trump, some people vote for this administration. But my point here is, for those who do not, those who consider him.
That's a pretty large red line.
It really is.
Bold red line.
Now, whether he finked out on Anthropic, that's nuanced. It's a tech company. We don't like AI, so that's no honor among thieves would be, I think, the view of many people. But in this case, I think the fact that he did the deal with the Pentagon, and no matter how much he doth protest about, I changed the contract and I inserted this and this hurts me, I don't think anybody's going to pay attention to that. So I think this could be
a little too late,
really damaging. Now, meanwhile, it came right after another huge round of investments from companies that also, by association, I haven't seen that kind of rub off yet. But I wonder whether people are going to say, "Why are you investing in this?" And in any case,
interesting.
Anthropic is, I think, Anthropic's in real danger. If they're called a supply chain threat, and if the government tries to enforce that in what they think of their maximalist ways, that could hurt them badly. I mean, one friend of mine at the University of Virginia said, we may not be allowed to use Anthropic because the university has contracts with the government for research. Is that what it's going to come down to?
Well, and even like you mentioned earlier, supply chain threat, not maybe officially targeted as such. Maybe it's just a threat and not an actual label. But right now we do have reports of the government phasing out Claude from all of its workflows, or many of its workflows, but not all of them. Washington Post reported today that the U.S. military used Claude in processing 1,000 targets in the first 24 hours of strikes on Iran in this new and sudden war that we find ourselves in. So how does the U.S. government wean itself off of Claude when it's that darn good at doing its job? The
surprising part to me was how much it is actually being used.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. And the belief was that Claude was the only LLM that was, I was going to say battle ready, but government ready. But even then, the problem with this is, So Ben Thompson, Stratechery, had a long, that's redundant, anything he writes is long, post about this that I had Gemini summarize for me. And he's way taking the government side here and arguing that no company should be in the position to tell the government what they can or can't do with a given tool. And that becomes a dictatorship of the corporation. And he goes on at length, and as is usual for Ben, he reasons it out in his smart way. I disagree pretty strongly here on two bases. One is at some point, a company has the responsibility and right, I think, to say how their product should and should not be used. Mm-hmm. And so you have pharma companies, for example, that will not sell certain drugs to certain states to be used in death penalties.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That precedent is pretty clear to me.
That's a
they
pretty
say,
strong precedent. Yeah.
We're not. This is our rule, and if you're going to violate that, we will not sell this to you. You may not use it because you may not use it for that purpose. I'm going to go overboard here, and I'm not making a full. This is not a Godwin's rule Nazi thing, but I'm going to go there for just 1 second. If IG Farben, the company that made Zyklon B, and of course they were in the pocket of the Nazis, so this never would have happened. But what if that company had said, no, we're not going to sell you this product? Now, the Nazis still would have done what they did. But what responsibility does a company have in extenuating times to resist what they see as a illegitimate, illegal, amoral, immoral use of their product? That's part one. Part two about this that interests me is that basically I think there's a whole nother argument here, which is Anthropic saying, and I think they'd be the one company who would say this, it's not ready.
Yes,
even if you
they
believed,
have been. Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
And even if you believed that it were okay to use this for autonomous weapons, to go out and pick targets and kill them on its own without human intervention,
Bull.
It hallucinates.
Yes.
It makes mistakes. It's irresponsible at that product safety level to use it, which I think is a legitimate argument.
Super legitimate.
Which they've been making that as well. And so in any case, I'm on Team Anthropic here. And, I said this, I think, on the show last week. I'm always torn about Anthropic because they're doing great work and they're doing amazing stuff. On the other hand, their use of the word safety is, to me, tickles the TESCREAL world. And, I'm never sure how to judge Anthropic fully. But in this case,
in this case, their commitment to safety, it kind of lines up with exactly right. They're willing to put their whatever potential contract with the U.S. government on the line to say, no, we don't feel comfortable with that.
Yep.
And that lines up with their publicly stated commitment to safety. So yeah, I give them a lot of credit for that.
I do too.
Versus the Sam Altman OpenAI, like, oh, hey, here's an opportunity. Let's jump on it and we'll apologize later.
Opportunistic and sloppy, quoting Sam, yes.
Right.
Now it puts Google in a fascinating position because, as you said, you have Google employees who are now, as they did back in the day with robots and war, and they essentially struck in the day to say, Google, you can't do this, and they influenced Google's behavior. Google went closer and closer and closer to the Department of Defense. Well, now Google's in a difficult position. And I haven't heard it much out loud yet, but that chicken's going to go home
heard
to
from
roost.
their employees.
They heard from their employees.
Some of the employees signing the letter and all that. But
if it comes time for, it's not hard to imagine the government trying to put Google in a really uncomfortable position.
No,
by
not
saying,
at all.
we want to use Gemini to kill people. And Google has far more of a consumer brand and a worldwide brand.
Yes.
Associated with other governments around the world. Thank goodness Dolan from the White House listens to this podcast, so we don't have to worry about this, giving them an
Pretty
idea.
certain of that.
But it's really uncomfortable to an extent for Microsoft too. It's and Amazon is in this too. I don't know if you put this in the part of the rundown or not. Did you put the Amazon strike in UAE? No. So just to add into the whole war theme here, it looks like there's a good chance that an Amazon facility in the UAE was targeted by Iran.
Oh, that's right. Yes, right.
So these tech companies become targets, perhaps actors, in a global war situation. Right.
Yeah.
It's what a target. How much better than going after Amazon than going after McDonald's. So they're in a uncomfortable position too. So all these AI tech companies, just at the moment when there's all these story, Time magazine does its cover about nobody likes them, and we get things we talked about last week, that we get all these polls that say they're very unpopular. And now they're going to need public opinion to stand up for them in these cases. And so that goes back to your other question, whether this will last or not. I think in the balance here, is the antipathy toward AI great enough to outweigh the desire to support dissent against a government that some people don't like? I don't know.
Yeah, that's an interesting balance, or an interesting scale. Those two different sides. Yeah, and all happening at a moment that is so charged because, like I said earlier, suddenly we find ourselves in war with. It's just such a weird time. My goodness. Meanwhile,
this is really off topic. If I may have one more thing, I just saw a story this morning. I think it was the Journal. This is not war. This is the Netflix versus Paramount Warner Brothers fight.
Okay.
The New York Post reported that the administration. This wasn't the only factor, but the administration soured on Netflix when they went and did a visit to the campus, and they found tampons in the men's restroom. That was just too woke for them, being trans friendly. Right. And so there was a story in the Wall Street Journal about a fight over vibes drove the Pentagon's breakup with Anthropic.
Yes.
A lot of it doesn't come down to rational business or technical factors. A lot of it is this kind of weird emotional thing here, and you can't predict it. You don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah. It's a wide interpretational thing.
Yep.
That, not cleanly delineated.
So sorry to go on so much, but it's just a fascinating story.
It really is, and I'm happy that we took this time, and I'm happy that I spent the time to do the timeline.
I'm really glad you did too, because it's so confusing.
Only because like the more I like faced this story and was kind of confused by it in the beginning, the more I wanted to like pretend like it didn't happen. That's just a thing inside of me. It's like, no, wait a minute, get educated, get informed on what this is, and it's even knowing all the details is still such a confusing mess. It feels like such a mess right now. Anthropic, by the way, doing all right in all of this. Bloomberg says it's doubled its revenue run rate to nearly 20 billion from just the end of 2025, which seems to suggest that there's a lot of consumer and enterprise surge happening right now that could potentially offset the losses that it might see from the loss of a government contract. So I don't know, that ethical stance could be, in this case, a really strong kind of outcome for Anthropic, And I mean, I've been using Anthropic. You've been using it a little more. I've been really liking the product and find myself opening it up more than any of the other LLMs right now.
The thing is, it's less of a consumer product, right? It's both for code and corporations. It doesn't give you funny pictures.
No.
It doesn't make your videos. It doesn't do all that, right? It gives you code and text.
It does really well with those things, though. Yeah, it does really well with the text and
but again, at a time when you need consumer support.
Yeah,
does it happen?
That's true. Yeah. Well,
so
I mean, how much value do those things like images and videos actually have? Like they're neat to point to and do every once in a while. Like Sora, as a video product, came out of the gate and then has really tanked, and so for consumers, like it's a short-term attraction.
Yeah.
Versus what they're really good at being a long-term. Yeah.
So I just before we leave the topic, I just looked up on news on Google for what's it. So OpenAI looking at contract with NATO, sources say. And the Business Insider had somebody who went to a Quit GPT protest in San Francisco, and the discontent extends far beyond OpenAI. Yeah, it's San Francisco, of course.
Yeah.
I'll just see if there's anything new in Anthropic.
Probably so. Almost certainly.
Here's Axios. Anthropic ban may threaten the military's AI advantage over China. So they're cutting off their nose to spite their face, goes the argument there. Anthropic tops 19 billion in annual revenue rate. As you said, Anthropic's doing fine. So yeah, this story is going to be hot for a while longer.
Yes, indeed.
And we will be following it here.
And we will follow it closely.
Team coverage.
Yes, exactly. Team coverage of other people's
You're looking
coverage.
At the team.
That's what we do. We cover other people's coverage. Hey, isn't that what podcasting is all about?
Exactly.
Patreon.com/AI Inside Show. If you like how we cover these things and how we talk about them and the lens through which we do that, you can support us directly. Patreon.com/AI Inside Show. We've got some amazing patrons, including this week, Lee Woods, Mark, aka Biggie, and Martin. Thank you so much for supporting us, everyone who does on the Patreon. Yeah, like I say, we couldn't do it without you. All right, let's take a quick break and thank the sponsor of this episode of the AI Inside Podcast, and it's Area. You know, we do talk about agents a lot, and sometimes when we talk about agents, it can feel kind of confusing. It can feel complicated, right? And I've found working with the Area tools that it really doesn't have to be complicated. You can build some amazing things. AI should not be limited to just your most technical team members. With Area, everyone gets a seat at the table, from business teams to operations to engineering. Area's no code, low code, and pro code, it's a light code platform, makes it easy for employees at every skill level to start using AI in practical, meaningful ways. The way I definitely have. That means your marketing team can automate workflows. Your analysts, they can move faster. Your developers, they can go deeper with those tools, all inside one environment that's built for collaboration and security. So instead of AI kind of living off and away in silos, Area kind of helps connect it all. It helps it spread across your organization in a way that's really manageable. So you get the gains in innovation, you get the gains in productivity, fewer roadblocks to getting started, all that. Now, I've built a number of agents inside Area, and I can definitely assure you when things get complicated, it can be really confusing for me. But Area didn't confuse me at all. The workflow really makes sense for my brain, and the power at the end of all of that that interaction is just really impressive. So if you want AI to work for your whole team, not just a handful of specialists, Area is built exactly for that. And you can learn more and get started for free today at area.com. That's AIRIA.com. And it's really worth checking out. And we thank the folks at Area for sponsoring this episode of the AI Inside Podcast and enabling us to do this week in, week out for you all. Thank you, Area, for your support. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back, and talk a little bit about Block. There's been a chopped on the block. I'm trying to make her. It's not working. Okay, we're going to talk about Block in a second. Okay, what is the reference that I'm trying? I'm circling something.
Somebody's
cut
on
off
the chopping block.
Chopping
so
block.
How would you work that out?
Yes, I mean it kind of works. Look, employees are on the chopping block.
Yeah, something around there.
Yes. Okay. These references don't come easily, obviously.
My old tabloid days, I'd be trying to write a headline around that. But.
Totally. I mean, and I'm sure that exact headline had been crafted by somebody. It's just a little too obvious. Block is cutting or chopping 4,000 roles from the company. Jack Dorsey, its CEO, says it's because of AI. Nearly 40% of its staff, in other words. So Jack Dorsey revealed this during the company's fourth quarter earnings report last week. By the way, that earnings report wasn't bad. It was strong. It showed growth in gross profit, 24%, earnings growth, 38% year over year. So things were looking all right. Nonetheless, Block announced the job cuts, saying the company is embedding AI across its operations. And envisions that this will enable smaller, highly talented teams, he said, to do more, better, and cheaper work. And he's also saying that this is a one-time reset and that most companies will soon find themselves in a similar position as they restructure around intelligence tools, aka AI tools. So what do you think, Jeff? Are we going to see more of this in the coming months?
There's a few takes on this out there. The Wall Street Journal, which I think is showing their worldview. The Citrini report we talked about last week, the one that said doomsday. Yep. The Journal pumped that a couple times and pumped that was scaring the market, which would become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so they like anti-tech stories. So this comes along, and the Journal says, the week the dreaded AI jobs wipeout got real. they had a contrary column saying tech has never caused a job apocalypse. Don't bet on it now. So they tried to do both. But basically, the journal went full AI panic on this. But there's a lot of argument that that the AI is an excuse for the layoffs that companies want to or need to do anyway. And it is pointed out that when Twitter was sold to Musk, he cut the bejesus out of the payroll. And a lot of us said, I was among them, who said, oh, this thing is going to crash.
I was too.
And
Absolutely.
It didn't.
Nope.
So Jack has a history, one could say, of overhiring. Rather considerably.
He's not alone in the tech ecosystem, by the way.
Especially during the pandemic. In fairness to the pandemic, that led to a lot of this. And so this could be just a way to say, not my fault, not my management. It's smart management. It's AI. It's the future, rather than talking about overhiring in the past. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There was a column today in the Times. I worked for Block. Its AI job cuts aren't what they seem.
Yes.
And this is somebody who left a few years ago, so I don't think their knowledge is really that current. Recognizing that that AI is around, and there's a dynamic that's fascinating, is you have a department with 10 people, and then they cut the hell out of that department, and then you're left there.
Still work.
How are you going to get the job done? You probably are going to rely on AI. If you didn't before, you are now.
That's true.
Right? So it may become a self-fulfilling prophecy then that even if it's not been used, if you cut this much, people will use it more because they have to.
But then you have to prove that the less people using more AI actually does fill the space.
Exactly.
Fill up the lost minds and humans that
and that takes time. And I say this again and again and again. We don't have the data to know about AI and productivity. This is a test case.
This is a strong test case.
Twitter was too, and it didn't have AI.
Yeah, that's really true. Do we look back in a year's time and oh boy, that was a stupid move, or are things going quite all right?
And if it's going all right, is it because they're using AI and AI caused this, or is it because Jack overhired?
Overhired.
Yeah. So it's hard to say.
That is
because nothing's as simple. There's the cause and effect is not one thing. There's a lot of correlation. There's a lot of other factors that come in. We need large scale data on productivity to get some sense of what's really happening with AI. And so far, we haven't seen it. That's not to say it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. It's not to say it's not there, but we don't know it yet, I think.
So do you think, I mean, we're just guessing, but do you think that we're going to see more test cases like this in the coming months? Like, are we kind of at the point to where, I don't know, our knowledge of these models or the confidence that companies have in their ability to, replace, I guess, the efforts of human and upscale efficiencies and all that, are we at the point to where more businesses are going to make these drastic cuts?
You asked that question. I think it's a good question. Yes, I think so. But again, I think the cause and effect will be difficult. Down at line 121, I put up this thing from Apollo, an analyst, saying that AI may be impacting labor markets, but it also could be Fed hikes, lower immigration, and trade war. And so they went through a whole bunch of activities, sectors, jobs, and said, is it AI sensitive? Across the board, yes.
Yes.
But these jobs are also sensitive to interest rates. These are also sensitive to immigration, and these are also sensitive to trade, given everything that's going on with that these days. Mm-hmm, so I think we're going to be looking for a simple cause and effect. AI equals this in productivity, and I don't think it's going to be there. I think it's going to frustrate people trying to understand this. But we need economists and academics to do independent work, and we shouldn't trust the AI companies to do this on their own. They're going to argue that it causes great productivity and tremendous savings and great economic value. They should. But I want to hear independent voices and independent data. The problem there is the Bureau of Labor Statistics and the Fed would be the best sources for those. But BLS has been denuded.
They've been emptied out. Yeah.
For my new book, Hot Type, coming out soon. Pre-order now.
I need a bell. That's what I need. I need a soundboard with a bell. When it happens, just go ding. Or a QR code on the screen. That would be helpful too.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
JeffDrivers.com. You can go right there. Sorry. So it was really fascinating, Jason. One of the things that struck me was that around the turn of the last century, the government had commissions to look at the labor and economic impact of mechanization and industrialization, and particularly the linotype, the machine I'm writing about. And they looked at it after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and saw huge impact in what happened and how much was saved, where the money went. Because at the time, publishers didn't put it in their pocket. They used it to make bigger publications, more publications, to compete stronger. They used it also to buy other publications and consolidate. So there was a technology dividend that occurred, and how it was used mattered. And the fact that the government saw this was such an important social trend, they had to study it, was kind of wonderful. The data and the witnesses before commission hearings are fascinating, absolutely fascinating, from both industry and labor. So it was really balanced. So I would love to see that kind of research today so that we understand what we're dealing with. Instead, what we see is people like us having takes on it because we don't have the data. Because we
don't have the actual hardcore data.
No. Yeah. And it's expensive to do this kind of stuff, but that's where we need this to go. So when the Wall Street Journal comes along and says it's the dreaded AI jobs wipeout, that's irresponsible. That's just stupid. Based on one company.
Right.
No.
Right. See? I told you. It's right there. Well, the market responded very positively, apparently, after the layoffs were announced. So the market might feel like this is the truth or just opportunity.
They always like layoffs. They love layoffs.
Totally. That's a good point. Want to talk Perplexity a little bit? There was a time
I remember them. I'm old enough to remember them.
Yeah. I still use them, but my use is tapering.
Is it?
I'm noticing. Yeah, definitely. But this actually sounds very interesting. Perplexity announced Perplexity Computer for Max users only. So you got to have an expensive
$250 a month,
Perplexity.
Is it?
Yeah, 200, 250. I can't remember what it is, but definitely more than 200, which is a lot to pay on a monthly basis. But if you're using this to its core advantage, maybe it's not. One of our executive producers, Dr. Do, probably is the prime candidate for something like this. This is an agentic system that lets users detail a specific outcome. So set like, this is what I want to achieve ultimately, and then orchestrate multiple different agents, different models, very varied, and we can talk about those, to plan out and to execute to that goal. And we're not just talking like, give this to me in like 10 minutes or whatever. We're talking hours. We're talking even months at it in some cases. So this all happens inside of a cloud sandbox with a file system. And Perplexity says that it uses the best model for each subtask. So Claude Opus 4.6 for the core reasoning aspects, Gemini for deep research. Gemini is very good for deep research. Grok for fast, lightweight jobs. ChatGPT 5.2 for long context and wide search. Also, if you want your image and your video, it's using Nano Banana. It's using VO 3.1. And just meant to be really flexible when you compare it to something like Claude Cowork, as an example. So, yeah, and it's definitely coming along at the time when we've talked a lot about OpenClaw and the concept behind that.
Right.
So,
I also found TechCrunch's angle on this interesting, that saying that Perplexity is another bet that Perplexity Computer is another bet that users need many AI models.
Right.
And
not just using one model for everything.
Yeah, and the commodification of models, I think it's true. I think people can go back and forth and see which does the best job. As long as they can afford, using the spending for the tokens in multiple models. If you really care about getting the best answer and you're a company, why not? Makes sense.
Absolutely.
I don't think consumers necessarily need to do that to make their funny picture of their uncle dressed as a frog. But for other things, for business sensitive things, yeah.
Yeah.
Perplexity's still running. It's still there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just interesting. A year ago, I was all in, and And I know that, Perplexity does integrate the other services into its service. So it really is kind of like a Trillium or whatever those multi-chat message systems from back in the days of old. It is kind of along those lines, but yet I still choose to go to Claude for certain things or to ChatGPT for other things, and Gemini. I'm all over the map. So I don't know. Yeah, interesting. I'd like to play around with it, but I'm not a Max subscriber, so I can't. But if you are, send us an email.
Yeah, let us know.
We would read it. contact@AIinsight.show. I'd love to know. Or, if you happen to be a patron in our Discord, throw it in there. Maybe we can read it on the show from there. This next story, I feel like people really responded to. And on one hand, like obviously it's a big deal, but on another hand, it's kind of like, well, yeah. Like
I was surprised about this to an extent.
Don't trust these things.
Trust. Yeah,
I mean that's what I mean. Like I was surprised by it. I was surprised by it, but then at the same time I was not surprised by it. You know what I mean? So what happens in Meta Ray-Bans doesn't necessarily stay in Meta Ray-Bans. A Swedish site called SVD, which I can't actually pronounce, is
Svenska Dagbladet, I think.
There we go. You'd be the one to be able to read that. I would say a whistleblower type article about a contractor called Sama, not Sam Altman, just Sama, in Nairobi that works for Meta. And what they do, they have a bunch of workers that are working on data annotation using photos and videos from Meta's smart glasses network. And the story really details how contractors are seeing very intimate moments and private information on the regular kind of passing through, which opens up, the whole question about like how much, if my glasses aren't in this charging case and they're out on the table, are they actually sending information online? Or is this when I've got these glasses on and I record a video, is that recorded video sending off? And if so, like apparently they have filters in place that are meant to blur faces, meant to disguise, really sensitive topics and sensitive imagery and that sort of stuff. But no filter is perfect, and a lot of stuff gets through, and that opens up the door for things to leak out to the internet, and that's no bueno, no good.
So what did surprise me here, and I shouldn't have, but I didn't realize that your videos from the glasses go up to Meta.
I didn't realize that either.
And so go ahead.
Well, I would say I didn't realize that in this context.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're using Meta AI, then
it's being processed,
right? Like it's being processed. So that makes sense to me. If I'm just recording a video that's local on my device, that's weird if that ends up going somewhere.
Well, let's put it this way. When I take photos and put them in Google Photos, they're going to Google. I do not presume that anyone ever looks at those photos for any reason. Maybe I'm wrong. I got to look at the terms of service. I could be wrong, but I never presumed that. Yeah. The Svenska Dagbladet reporting said that in the terms of use for Meta's AI, it states that, quote, in some cases, Meta will review your interaction with AIs, including the content of your conversations with or messages to AIs, and this review can be automated or manual, parenthesis, human, end parenthesis.
Right.
It also states that AIs may store and use information shared with them, and that the user should not share information, quote, that you don't want the AIs to use and retain, parenthesis, bracket for me or the rest of the world, such as information about sensitive topics. So that, maybe it was there the whole time. Maybe it was obvious the whole time. I didn't grok that, to use a ruined word. And so once you know that, it changes the whole scope of things. And the whole moral panic that occurred around Google Glass.
Right.
Oh my God, what is Jason taking pictures of now? How is he violating my privacy now?
That's right. I'm sending this video to the internet. Oh, wait a minute. We're already
on the internet, not video. Right. The fear when a New York Times columnist at the time said, oh my God, Robert Scoble is going to take pictures of my junk in the restroom. And I said, nobody wants pictures of your junk, fella. That was a moral panic to an extent about the user's use of it. Mm-hmm. Right. It has the light on. Is the user recording something they shouldn't record? That's about the user's responsibility. I didn't layer in the companies in this way. It was stupid of me. Because I think this story, I'm surprised this story hasn't gotten even more pickup. so far. But it's good reporting on the case of the Swedes. And by the way, thank you, Svenska Dagbladet, if I'm saying your name right, for putting this up in English. I think it's really important. There's all kinds of great reporting that I see in German and French papers and Swedish papers that I wish it's very ugly American of me to want you to put it in English because we're dumb and we don't speak Swedish, but you'll have more impact.
But absolutely on an expose story like this, it's going to spread a lot, potentially a lot further as a result. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just like throwing heads in the air like, I just assume that all these things are not quite as they seem. You know what I mean? Like, did I actually think that any video that I record on these things was going off into a room where people were reviewing all the content? No, but then once I found out about this story, I was kind of like, God, I'm just not surprised, and that kind of took a little bit of the sting out of it, even though, like, that's potentially really, really bad. There's a lot of probably very personal stuff that comes out of these glasses, and people wouldn't have thought twice about that. It's certainly not part of the onboarding that everything that you record on these glasses are going to go to some human
the
person who's picking apart the image and saying, oh, that's a trash can. Oh, that's a face. That's
right. And also that person may look at disgusting things.
Yes.
And it has an impact on them and their psyche.
That's true. Well. That's a good point.
That's the other angle of this.
Oh.
So I look up, and according to Gemini, it is pronounced Svenska Dagbladet. So I was right.
Dagbladet. Svenska Dagbladet. Yay.
I love Swedish.
Now I know.
It's a great language. Killer language.
I like the sound of Swedish. It's got a very kind of it's
I'll
kind of
my rabbit holes. My wife and I went to Sweden in great measure because we were fascinated with IKEA. The first one came to Philadelphia. Any country that can produce this is amazing. Got to see it. So we went to Sweden. On the way over, I got a Berlitz book. I practiced phrases. We arrived the first night at a restaurant. I go up to the front and I say, "Svo," and put two fingers up to make sure that people can understand what I meant. And the person speaks back to me, the host speaks back to me in Swedish. I wait politely till he finishes. Then I say in Swedish, "I'm sorry, I don't speak Swedish. Do you speak English?" I'm like, "Why did you start this?" Of course I speak English. I'm Swedish. They're amazing. They're absolutely amazing.
Because I wanted to kind of cross the bridge.
I was trying to be a good American.
Yes, exactly.
So anyway, hats off to Swedish journalists. Thank you.
Indeed. Couple of restaurant-related stories. I don't know. It's a restaurant block with AI. This first one, I think this probably happens more than definitely happens more than reported, and will probably continue to. But a Santa Cruz restaurant called Salty Otter, this is in my neck of the woods. This is just a couple hours south of me. Used generative AI to create part of its graphical logo. This is an otter riding a wave on a surfboard. Kind of has that Gen AI quality to it, but it's cute. Like, also a human could create this. How the heck do you know? But anyways, the owner has admitted, yes, I used generative AI to create the image. Everything else, though, she created. She has a background in graphic design, and she had a very specific.
And she's busy running a restaurant.
She opened this brand new restaurant, the Sports Grill, and it was inundated by salty reviews and ratings. See what I did there? Online that had nothing to do with the quality of the food or the experience, had everything to do with the fact that she chose to use generative AI to make the image on the billboard that's outside or the sign that's outside. I think she has since taken it down and replaced it with
she's replacing it with simple black, but white text on black. That's that. It's sad.
Yeah, it's like, okay, here I am now. Great. Is this what you like? But people hated it for that single fact.
It's the anti-AI Time magazine kind of thing. And shout out to my friends at Lookout Santa Cruz, run by my friend Ken Doctor, for the reporting. Good work.
Oh, great. 2024 breaking news Pulitzer Prize winner.
They did indeed, for a brand new online only startup.
Dang. Good job.
Cool. Yep. Not this
That's
story.
an interesting.
They won a Pulitzer for something else. Yeah,
Maybe they'll win a Pulitzer for this too. Who knows? Probably not. But it's an interesting story. I'm not going to deny that. And then second in our mega roundup of restaurant-related AI stories, Burger King is implementing an AI chatbot into the headsets of employees working at the restaurant. The BK assistant named Patty, like Burger Patty, helps employees with meal prep, also analyzes customer interactions to make sure that employees are being friendly. So, they're going to make sure that you're saying, welcome to Burger King, please, and thank you, all those things. I wonder how that works. I wonder if it's just like barking at you while you're working, or do you query it afterwards? Like, how did I do there? Or, I don't know.
Yeah, it was like Starbucks. It was in trouble. They got a new CEO. He comes in. This cup I just had is not true of this. They've been getting rid of the
little cup warm
the cuffs or whatever you call them, right?
Hot cups.
Hot cups, yeah. Right? And then they've been making the employees say "Welcome in" when you come in, like you're in Cheers. Norm.
Do
you get that reference?
I get that reference.
Okay, good.
Heck yeah.
Eddie Haskell, I get it. You don't get it. I make sure you got Norm.
But by the way, I did watch Leave It to Beaver when I was a kid, but it was an older show that happened to be on when I was a kid. You know what I mean? It was like it was probably one of the few black and white shows that I actually watched when I was a kid.
Right.
But yes.
The other thing they make him do is they make him write on the cups. Whoever this person is, they didn't. I don't want to get fired. When it's forced like that.
Yeah.
It's awful, right? So it's bad enough that you force the employees to do that. Now you're putting a spy on their head.
Yeah.
And watch, it's going to have cameras and say, are you smiling enough? Is your voice friendly enough? What did you say?
Your mouth is only upturned 30%.
Yeah.
We require 35% upturn in your smiles.
I got resting grumpy face.
Right. There's nothing I can do here,
Patty.
man.
Yeah.
Patty.
So it's an intrusion in an awful corporate technology way. This is not the way to use the technology.
Yeah, like I get like a nanny state sort of.
Yeah, it really does.
Kind of vibe to it. Like, by the way,
However, Burger King is a little bit in my heart this week because they've been absolutely making fun of McDonald's. Did you see the McDonald's presidents? McDonald's has a new arch burger. It's obnoxiously American, overdone. 2 quarter-pound patties, 3 slices of cheese, lettuce, a new special sauce on a special bun, and the CEO of McDonald's does a video that's he's just uncomfortable. I don't know how to hold this, and he takes the world's tiniest bite of it. He's uncomfortable doing it. It's just horrible. So meanwhile, the Burger King CEO is going off, and he's making a huge whomp out of the new Whopper. And doing the whole thing. So it's kind of fun to watch them war. This has nothing to do with AI, but I just want to sneak that in.
There's everything to do with making me hungry, though. Not that I want that arch thing, but
it sounds pretty bad
right now. Yeah, it sounds.
It's 1,000 calories.
In a single. My goodness. I mean, I've probably eaten plenty of 1,000-calorie burgers in my lifetime,
but not at McDonald's.
Not at McDonald's. Wow, that's like a brick. It's probably the size of a brick too. Interesting.
It's going for $10 for a burger.
Yeah, fast food used to be inexpensive. It's not inexpensive anymore.
It's not.
It's really not.
Anyway, not AI. Sorry, folks.
I love it, though. If anything, you've reminded me that once the show is done, I need to find something to eat for lunch. So I will do that. Real quick, if you're enjoying this show and our tangents, sometimes have to do with McDonald's burgers. You just never know. Make sure and give us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Make sure and mention that every once in a while we talk about McDonald's and AI. Actually, probably prefer that you mention that we talk about AI because that's what the show's about. But
please.
It would be a huge help. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back, talk about a few quick hits, and get you out of here. Hold on tight. So first up, we have the U.S. Supreme Court refusing to hear a case from that dates back to 2018, where a gentleman by the name of Stephen Thaler had applied for a copyright for a work created by an AI system he built. So this is 2018. This is before you had like Nano Banana. You could just go on and type out a thing. He actually created a system. Looks a lot like DeepMind back in the day. Remember DeepMind? It's kind of psychedelic looking. This is just how AI generated imagery kind of looked back then.
This one is more sensible than most of them were at the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It has a little
psychedelic.
bit more, yeah, more construction. You can kind of see the scene. Some of the stuff from back then was just really trippy. And so he built this. It's called A Recent Entrance to Paradise. That was rejected in 2022 by the U.S. Copyright Office because it wasn't made by a human author. He went back to appeals. It made its way to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has rejected the case, and so as a result, it's pretty unlikely that Taylor can continue on, on this journey at this stage. But it doesn't really solve the question, right? Because we don't have a core ruling on it, or does it? Is that how
right now? What stands is that the creations of AI are not copyrightable.
Okay.
So I think that has a big, the Salty Otter logo. If somebody else wants to use it, isn't copyrightable.
Oh, okay. So now that hinges on the person who is creating to be honest and forthright about the fact that they use AI, right?
Right.
So yeah, I wonder how much people are just kind of getting away with it because, or how many people would get away with it simply because they just don't even admit that it was used AI to generate.
I don't think this is going to stand in the long run because the line between whether the human made it or the machine made it is blurred already, much more than in this case.
Totally.
And if you use, again, we can always go to Photoshop. If I use Photoshop, if Photoshop uses a little bit of AI, does that invalidate my creative?
Well, that's totally where is the line drawn? If I open up Photoshop and I create something from scratch with drawing tools and the different tools that are there, and then there is also a tool that allows you to select a portion of the screen and say, generate this. And so is the difference that I used text that fed into AI versus like selecting a tool that was a smart tool? Because there's other tools where there's like this one tool, object aware fill or whatever, where depending on where you point your cursor initially, everywhere that you then place the cursor and hit the button, it kind of takes an amalgamation of what that source area was and kind of makes it work in that space. Is that AI? Because it's so blurry.
I think what might happen here, and I'm no lawyer, I don't play one on podcasting, but this was a ruling of the Copyright Office that was upheld by the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. I don't see any reason that the Copyright Office couldn't change their policy.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Right. So that may be where the action happens, not in courts. But they rejected his request. He took it all the way to the Supreme Court. They wouldn't hear it. Boom, it stood. So that's where we stand on this. So the Gadget Story said it's worth noting that Taylor also filed applications to the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office for AI-generated inventions, which were rejected for similar reasons. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I think if you're an ad agency, this makes you cautious about obviously using AI.
Yeah, it really does. And I mean, meanwhile, you've got Google and everyone else, Nano Banana, which we're going to talk about. They're all presenting these things as real level ups for marketing and for ad agencies.
Yep.
And there's a big risk there if anything you create with those tools is not copyrightable. Like then your clients are going to say, you better not use these things because I don't want to find myself in a position where I can't copyright my own.
You have the concomitant copyright risk that if copyright material were used to train the model that you use to make your artwork, then you could be liable for that too.
Yeah.
So copyright messes all this up. Copyright, again, was invented in 1710. Sorry, Jeff Moment from the Gutenberg parenthesis, still available for sale at jeffjarvis.com. Ding.
Ding.
Where it was not the creators who sought copyright. It was the publishers and booksellers who sought it so that they could have a marketplace to sell creators' works. Mm-hmm. It was the industry, so to speak, that wanted it. And so it's outmoded to that extent. It doesn't do what people say it does. It's all to protect creators. It's entirely different. It makes something it makes creativity into a tradable commodity. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think there's going to have to be a rethinking of copyright in that vein around AI. So,
think so. Seems that way. Mentioned it real quick here. Nano Banana 2, not Nano Banana Pro. This is like the next number. And really, what are the differences here? It's based on Gemini 3.1 Flash. It's a lower latency model, so it's pretty fast, actually. You put in a generation prompt, and you probably get it in like 10 seconds. It has a quick turnaround. Better world knowledge, better text rendering and translation inside of images. Improved consistency for subjects and objects. You can actually have up to 5 characters, up to 14 objects that stay consistent between generations. I played around with that, definitely. It's very interesting.
This is what I saw you demonstrating on the video you made.
Yeah, well, yes, I did a video on the AI Inside YouTube channel. So go to YouTube, search
By all
for
means,
AI
go to
Inside.
that. I happened into it and was fascinated watching. Jason was going through very methodically, trying to test out its abilities.
Yeah, I just created a bunch of prompts ahead of time and then went in there and like tested them to kind of flex into some of these aspects to kind of see how it did. And I think it did a pretty good job. It didn't succeed in every test that I gave it, but most of them it did. And I've been using it a lot more since then. And yeah, it's a strong image creation tool. Absolutely is. And now it supports up to 4K. Specific aspect ratios. So it's getting really good. Now you just don't know whether you can copyright the images that it creates. So there's that.
I tried to use various of these this week because of the war and references being made online for wagging the dog.
Oh, okay.
I could not get any of them to understand what that meant.
Oh, really? Oh, that's an interesting kind of
because it's just so beyond, and it was kind of like real world model time. No, the dog wags its tail. I was trying to hold the tail steady and wag the dog with it.
Oh, that's a good one, Jeff.
I couldn't. It was my failure of language to get it. I could not get it to make something.
Tail wags the dog. Like, what would that even look like in an image?
I tried to then say, well, there's a hand holding the tail, and that it's wagging the dog, and nobody could. They just it befuddled them.
I saw it. Kind of along these lines, but a little bit of a tangent. I saw a video online of a guy who was having a voice chat with like ChatGPT or whatever. Maybe it was Gemini, and he was like, what am I doing right now? And it's like, you're holding a pen with both of your hands. And he's like, what do you think's going to happen when I let go with one of my hands? He's like, the pen will fall down. Gravity will pull it down. And, he's going back and forth with this thing. And then he goes, oh, what just happened? And the assistant is like, the pen fell like I told you it did. And he's like, no, it didn't. See, it's up there. Oh, my mistake. It is up there. And then he gave some like weird reason for like why it's up there, with his other hand. You're holding it with your other hand, but I can't see your other hand. He's like, no, my other hand's back here. These things are
oh, it's wonderful.
It's just it's
salute
funny.
Jan LeCun and the need for real world models. Yep.
Totally. Yes. It was a really interesting example of the counter of that, I suppose. Gemini 3.1 Flash, just a couple of real quick kind of model updates here. Flash-Lite, Gemini 3.1 Flash-Lite. There we go. Fastest, most cost-efficient Gemini 3 model now out. Really meant for high-volume developer workloads, so it's pretty inexpensive. You're probably going to see that in your tools. And then kind of along those lines, OpenAI released its GPT 5.3 Instant. Again, faster, more focused model. I guess better at everyday tasks.
Better at launching
up the tone.
Weapons.
Really fast, really quickly, apparently. Low lift weapons. So what can I say? A lot of people are going to encounter this one, or maybe not. If people are boycotting OpenAI, they might not. That's it. We've reached the end of this episode.
There's a lot this week.
We've made it through. Yes. And fantastic time. Thank you so much, Jeff, for always joining me every week and talking about this with me. I learned so much through our conversations.
Plug of book, Hot Type.
That's right. Hot Type. Go to jeffjarvis.com. Place your pre-order. You can also find Gutenberg Parenthesis magazine and The Web We Weave. Jeff is a very talented writer, and you should be reading his books. End of story. Thank you, Jeff. AIinside.show for all the things about this show, including our most recent interview with Salima Amershi from Microsoft Research. Definitely check that out if you haven't already. It is up on the site. And then patreon.com/AI Inside Show. You can go there. You can support us at any number of levels, and we appreciate if you do that. And we have some amazing executive producers who help us out each and every month. Dr. Do, Jeffrey Maricini, Radio Asheville 103.7, Dante St. James, Bono De Rick, Jason Neifert, Jason Brady, Anthony Downs, Mark Starcher, and Karsten Samashki. And I also want to throw out a huge thank you to Victor Bognat, who is editing the podcast for me now.
Thank you,
he's a friend from my days at Twit. And he's the editor on this show, and I want to start getting in the habit of thanking him because his time editing this show just takes a whole lot off my mental bandwidth.
Huge relief for Jason. We almost had an extra job for him this week when we did our interview with the Microsoft executive. Can I tell the story?
Joe, yeah, sure.
Yeah, we're partway through, and oftentimes there's a PR person not on screen, but just watching to make sure, right? And the PR person came in the chat on StreamYard and said, "There's a whiteboard behind you. Is there anything confidential on that?" And
I'm like, oh no.
And wanted us to stop the podcast to check. What would we do? Throw out everything we did before? So I text Jason and I said, "Do you think that Victor could blur the whiteboard if need be?" And he said, "Yeah, I think so." So Jason came back in and said that in the chat, and the PR person said, "Okay." And then at the end of it all, she looked around and said, "No, it's all fine."
Oh yeah, it's fine. It's everything we just talked about on a whiteboard.
Okay.
So it's okay. I was just like, oh, thank you.
Thank goodness.
Because I've been there. I've been the editor many times in my career, and it's hard work.
Yeah,
and,
it is.
Having to go back through an entire hour of an interview and blur out certain parts of the screen. It's hard, tedious. It's not enjoyable. At least it isn't to me. There's probably a lot of editors that really enjoy that stuff, but I don't. No. So I'm happy that Victor didn't have to do it. But Victor's awesome.
We're glad to have Victor here.
And
let's mention one other thing, Mr. Howell.
Sure.
If you're a podcaster, if you're a company doing podcasting, if you want to make your podcast better and understand more about it, you can get advice from Jason Howell. Where, Mr. Howell, do you go to find out about that?
Thank you. I totally forgot. I need to be plugging it.
Yes, you
too. I got to be selling this stuff. Podtuneup.com. Always be selling. Hey, you got to run a business somehow. It's podtuneup.com. All one word, no hyphens in the URL or anything like that. Go there. Take a look at what I got there. Yeah, I've been doing this stuff for 20 years. If you got a podcast or you're thinking about starting a podcast, you have a network and you want to get better systems on it. I mean, I've been close to a lot of this stuff. As I like to say, I've been breathing the oxygen of podcasting for 20 years. So I could probably help you out. So go to podtuneup.com. Thank you for the plug opportunity, Jeff. You're great.
Well, you plugged me enough. Ding.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching and listening. We appreciate you being along each and every week. And I'm realizing that I don't have my outro already. So you're just going to have to trust me when I say we appreciate you and we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Bye.